Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Today we're going to take a look at the stock ticker LPM, which moved last week. It went from 34 cents to 45. And I just want to talk about the order book and what caught my eye there about the stock topping out before it rolled over. So before I get into that, I just want to take a brief look at the daily chart and the news that came out. What we have here is a pivot point at around 39.5 and 39. And then we have another pivot point a little bit further on at around 44. We're going to take a look at the volumes before this day, and we can see that this is a pretty significant day in terms of volumes. So one would expect some holders here to be holding from around the highs, and then that's pretty much it really in terms of volume. There's no significant volumes around this level, but one should expect at least a little bit of resistance just from the fact that it's a key pivot point. So taking that information into account, we can see 39.5 is somewhat significant recently, and we'll factor that in for our trade. And we got the pivot point here at 39. As you can see, the stock just clearly broke through like a hot knife through butter on this trade intraday. Popped, created a range by topping out and then pulling back, and then breaking through that range here on this candle at 10:13 in the morning, and breaking out to the upside. And what's really interesting about this is the fact that I ended up closing out around this level as well. And why that's interesting is because this usually doesn't happen. We almost never see a stock rally, pull back, break out on high volumes, and then just roll over like this, effectively a fake out. Normally what happens, if you wanted to be pretty general about stock trading, especially in the micro caps, you get a rally, pullback, retest the pivot, and then do whatever, whether it retests or breaks into highs or whatever. But generally, that's the basic pattern of micro cap trading on Catalyst News. But what we had was this into a rollover, which is super uncommon. And it's more common when it grinds up slowly on medium low volumes and then sort of retests and comes off. That's far more common. But to have a high volume breakout like this lead into a sell-off is just bizarre. It's definitely not common at all from what I've seen. And we'll just quickly duck into the news announcement here, and the news that came out, and it was about 35 mil market cap when it opened up at around 34 mil, 34 cents roughly. And what we ended up is having one drill hit 19 meters at 1.58% lithium, which is nice. It's all right. It's whatever. It's one drill hit. Has some pretty photos down here of some spodumene, and it is what it is. It's not that exciting. Like, it's nice to have a fat hit of high grade lithium, and whatever. Like, it's good, but it's not fantastic. So I would have at least expected a second wave on this, and hence why I got into the trade and bailed on it. So we're going to take a look at the order book on this one and why it was interesting. So we're looking at the candle at practically the end of 10:13, so 10:13.57, which is this candle here, and starting at 10:14. You can see the volumes that have churned here as well. So we're going to take a look at this at 2 times speed. And take note what happens. We got a stack on the bid. We're slowly lifting the offer, which is fine. It's just doing the normal things. It'd be nice if 44.5 had a bit more, and there you go. There's the stack. 44.5 comes in, 100k volume, and that already sort of rings alarm bells. So what that does is it entices people to buy into the stock. They go, look at how much wants to buy in. You know, there's 45 grand there on the book. I can put in my 10, 15, 20k and I'll be safe. So that's what really happens, is this gets taken, and you see it get taken, reloaded, and then taken again. So quite a bit of volume here at 45. Bids come in, get taken straight away again. Bit of a seller at 46, nothing too special. A seller again pops up at 45. Now, keep in mind is what price action happens here, or the story of this price action, is large bids sitting on the bid and small offer that keeps getting taken. That is a sign of weakness. And you'll see why. So small bits, small nibbles. And this is only going to take another 2 minutes at most. So you see it get wiped out at 45 and 44.5 and then stacked on the bid again. And then you got extra volumes coming in. So instead of 100K, it's 2 100K stacks by the looks of it. And then 45 comes back online on the sell side. Gets pulled. Buy side gets stacked even more. And one would look at that and go, yeah, that's a good thing, right? The buy side stacking. Not really. So when they're sitting on the bid and they're not lifting the offer, that's not a good thing. It may appear that way, and that's the idea of appearing strong. So there's a difference between being strong and appearing strong. And this is where these look like rug pulls. It's extremely suspicious when there's 250K shares on the bid, but no one is really jumping and lifting the offer. I want to say no one, I mean, look, there's, a few grand here and there, a few thousand shares, 10,000, 15,000, whatever. But where's the extra 100K coming in and stacking at 45? It doesn't come in. And if it does, it gets hit. So look at all the orders at 45. Hit. And then 44.5 gets hit. And that's pretty much all she wrote for this one. And look at 45 getting hit. Rug pull into 2 line wipes straight away. So we're going to just back that up a little bit and see effectively what is the death of this stock at the highs. So there's the rug pull, and almost immediately sold into 2 lines and then stacked on the offer. Now we're more inclined to believe that the offer is real at 45.5 because the sell pressure has been there the whole time. The bid's partially fake and unwilling to move up and step up. And you can just see it is just panic. Orders get pulled, it's not too big of a deal, they move down, orders get amended. You can see these sellers are coming in, they're far more interested in getting out than there are people interested in getting in. And the stacks just keep getting heavier and heavier. And this is where, again, I mentioned, I know some people look at that and go, yeah, but that happened on the buy side. Why doesn't it matter when it happens on the sell side? Well, because we actually see the bid getting hit on the sell side. So the sellers are actually stepping up and hitting 45, whereas 45 was getting queued up on, right? Bids were coming in, but sellers were selling into that bid, right? It's not like 45 had a seller and then the buyers were coming in and chipping away at it. That's sort of happened a little bit, but with fake volumes behind it, and there's no sort of sell pressure. There was no buy pressure behind the buying. Whereas on the sell side, it's evidently there. Not only do you have small stacks popping in and out, but you actually have physical volume being amended and moved into the buy side. So it's an interesting look at the order book, seeing where that weakness is. I immediately get suspicious when there's orders coming in that look like this on the bid, especially when you got big stacks compared to the offer. Look how thin the offer is, right? 45, 46, 46.5, barely $1,000 at each level. 8 grand, 1 grand, 1 grand, 2 grand. And then you got 44 and then 28K sitting on the bid just behind. So that, to me, feels like that's there as a prop in order to entice people to sell into this level. And you can see the selling. It's so marginal, but it's so quick that you might miss it. But the grey bars behind just show how much volume actually gets executed, and see how little shares are on the bid or the offer at any one time, but it just keeps getting hit into. And then sellers keep reloading at 45. And it really starts off with these 2 big walls, if you will. Like, they're not massive, but they're significant enough that it begs the question, where are the buyers? And then it gets market hit into, and then it gets reloaded, and it gets reloaded to excess to encourage others to buy into it. And then you end up with a relatively decent size order at 45. I wonder if that's the same buyer just looking to break even. He pulls the order and the bid gets even larger. So that to me is like a big red flag when there's a stack like this coming out of nowhere on a spec stock, but no one's fucking buying the stock. No one's buying it. It's fake money. It's fake money. And then you see this order here, at least partially, is real because it gets eaten into. And that's not like a overly big order, right? That's like 20k. This one here for 100k over 2 orders, it's likely 250k orders. It is, and it just gets hammered. And we get a pull and a wipe on the bids. And it's just brutal. So when you get that kind of price action and stagnation, then the stock usually leans towards a reversal. So that all happens in these 2 candles, really. And then, of course, you get the meltdown that happened on good volumes as well. But it's all about the volumes that are churned with no price action. So again, it's almost like distribution, but it didn't happen long enough for it to really be distribution. But I hope you guys at least see what I saw in the order book. At least that you see some signs of when a order book is manipulated and is suspicious and dodgy. For me, sometimes I bail out too early on those kinds of trades. So what happens is I almost instinctively just disappear from a stock. When I see order manipulation, I run. And sometimes I do that a little bit too early because what happens is a stock tends to move for perhaps 6 or 7 more minutes before it collapses or before the fake props get tested and stop reloading levels. But you'll see a stock just grind maybe a tick, maybe 2 ticks, and the volumes will just constantly be this high. Just every candle's just got sick volumes, and it goes for 6 or 7 candles, and then it just doesn't move, and then it collapses on low volume because there's just no real actual bids supporting it. And so that's what you saw effectively is fake bids encouraging others to come in with size and especially chip away by lifting the offer, but they just never came. So to me, I'm always suspicious of large bids that aren't immediately or very quickly followed up by actual orders that are lifting the offer. So guys, I hope you found that useful. If you did, please leave a comment, subscribe, all that good shit.